Good afternoon, everybody, because it just turned 12:01. Welcome to our second in the series, the Race and Social Justice in the Arts speaker series at the School of Art. I'm Joe Arredondo. I'm director of Exhibits and Speaker Programs. And I'm just going to welcome you and announce that we will have Q&A using the Q&A feature down at the bottom or wherever it is on your screen. You'll just type in your questions and we'll field them at the end of the talk. So our speaker series is supported with a generous grant from the Helen Jones Foundation. We also get cultural activities fees through the college, the JT and Margaret Talkington College of Visual and Performing Arts. And so we have at least one more presentation in this series coming up in mid-November. And we have another incidental speaker on a different topic also. And we also have some exhibits opening up middle of the month in our main galleries, both of them. So, but you'll be seeing notices about that coming up pretty soon. At this point, I'm going to pass it over to Sung-Mi, Professor Sung-Mi Yu, who will introduce our guest. And I will go invisible and audio until the end of the session.
All right, thank you, Joe. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Hope I can see your faces. Currently, I'm only seeing Mizin and Joe. So I'm a professor of art. I teach printmaking and drawing, and it's been our honor to invite our fall visiting artist, Mizin Shin, in conjunction with Race and Social Justice in the Arts Speaker Series. So let me introduce Mizin's bio a little bit. She has extensive record, but this is only a glimpse of her career path. Born and raised in South Korea, Mizin Shin graduated from Hongik University with a BFA in printmaking and received her MFA from SUNY, State University of New York at Buffalo. She's currently a visiting assistant professor in the Department of Art and Art History at the University of Rochester. Shin's work has been shown nationally and internationally at institutions across the United States, the UK, Spain, and South Korea. A few examples are Multiple Ones, Contemporary Perspective in Printmaking in 2021 at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Jacksonville, Florida. How Things Are Consumed, that's the kind of major title for her ongoing body of work in 2020 at El Museo in Buffalo and New York. Fragment Encounters in 2018 at the Museum of Prehistory and Archaeology of Cantabria, Spain, in conjunction with Impact Printmaking Conference. Leading numerous printmaking workshops with a number of art organizations, Shin focuses on both traditional and contemporary printmaking practices to promote multidisciplinary approach to the medium. That includes, her workshops include, not only she gave 3 elaborate printmaking workshops with us, with a printmaking program at Charles Adams Studio Project in Lubbock, Texas. She also presented quite a few array of printmaking workshops in the nation, such as Stop Asian Hate in 2021, Genesee Valley Park, Rochester, New York, Stop Frame Animation. She's done some quite interesting animations in the past. 2019, not only the printmaking, but also design and animation video part. 2019 as Squeaky Wheel Film and Media Art Center in Buffalo, New York. Mizin Shin is also co-founder of Mirabeau Press in Buffalo, New York, which is a printmaking workshop and master printing place, vice president of the Print Club of Rochester, and a board member of Mid-America Print Council. So that's a short round. Please give a round of applause to her to welcome Mizin Shin.
Hello, everyone. Okay, before I start, maybe I will share my screen so everybody can see. Thank you so much for having me in this Race and Social Justice in the Art Speaker Series. I was honored to be able to visit Texas Tech University last week to meet and work with the students, faculty, and other members of the local art communities. That was an amazing trip, by the way. My current campaign, Use Your Voice, Stop Asian Hate, started in response to rising hate crimes as a way to speak out against racially motivated prejudice and violence. The message is being translated into a variety of languages to engage diverse linguistic communities. So this is the main reason I was invited for this speaker series program. And I will definitely share more about this campaign. So far, the prints have been translated into Arabic, Burmese, Chinese, English, French, German, Hungarian, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Russian, Serbian, Slovak, Spanish, Tagalog, Tigrinya, Turkish, and Vietnamese languages. Because all prints are translated by volunteers, there was no specific request for most of these languages. They just came from natural connection to people in these language communities. So these are the volunteers who translated the signs. Currently, I put the Zoom background and with the picture that I took at the Folio Gallery, but all 18 blind embossed prints are currently exhibited at the Folio Gallery in the art building at Texas Tech University. Sorry about the shakiness of the video, but if you're on campus, please go to check out the show. You can see all the 18 blind embossed prints that we've been working with the campaign. Before we get into the details of the campaign, I would like to share some of my other artwork today. I hope you see the connection between my other art practices and then this campaign that I've been working on. So my work addresses interdependency throughout societal systems. It looks at the interconnectedness experience as both an individual and also as one of many elements in constructed systems. I visualizes connection to depict these systems as networks interdependent on a large and continually increasing number of other social entities. By highlighting the density of intrinsic connection within, between our different networks, the work presents all items of our systems as a significance from the individual elements to the larger constructs. Often surrounded by the work, viewers become a focal point in the network model, drawing awareness to their own position and significance in these systems. The work you are seeing right now is titled How Things Are Made. It's an installation with the hand-printed woodcuts. There are 4 panels and each design depicts a manufacturing process and they are connected to each other. The prints are to be displayed as a wallpaper covering the wall, floor, and ceiling, or as a scroll hanging off the wall. The How Things Are Made series examines the interdependency of manufacturing and the production system by uncovering and visualizing networks and connection as an attempt to better understand the complicated phenomena of economy. Though they can be imperceptible from afar, these relationships are easier to pinpoint among simple things in our everyday lives. For example, in the manufactured process of cookies, how many steps and systems are involved, how is each constituent part, such as milk, butter, or cookies, are related to other manufactured goods like aluminum and irons. Uncovering interdependent relationship has always been the big goal of my life. I find everything is connected, and this philosophical belief has been allowing me to appreciate connections and patterns in pretty much everything. So I'm always like trying to visualize the phenomena happening through the networking. I'm a huge fan of the TV show, How It's Made. I don't know if anyone has watched this show. It's a really amazing show. Anyway, I watch the show whenever I have time or one day. And then on one day I was watching an episode about how they make the chocolate chip cookie. And then next episode was about how butter is made, and then milk, and then so on, and then I realized this is it, because I don't have a TV, so I usually watch these shows on YouTube. And then I think the YouTube algorithm kind of like kept playing whatever the episode is related to each other. So that's kind of how I got the whole idea about this project. So I researched all the manufacturing processes involved in making chocolate chip cookies, and that's how this project started. So the design is right now, it's just showing the process making cookies. And then the next one is the process of getting ingredients for the cookies. And then the design is how to make the machines to make the cookies. And this is the mining process to get the materials needed to make the machines, that makes the cookies. So I have all prints are printed by hand, and then each print is about 34 by 34 inches. I may have printed over like 800 total because I have 6 blocks, and then 4 blocks are like constantly repeating. I just had to make 2 separate blocks for the ceiling and floor. So the corner where the floor and wall meets can be connected as well. So its blocks are probably about like 200 times printed by hand. Because all of the designs connect, I could cover the entire gallery for my installation. This gallery has 4 rooms. They are laid out linearly, so I focused each production process in each room, but smoothly transitioning from one process to the next. Of course, the viewers can also walk on the prints and then touch them as well. So they're inside of this installation. Before I designed this project, actually I knew I would have a show in this space. So the idea for the installation kind of started with the structure of this space, but I don't particularly see my project as a site-specific installation. Because each installation provides a unique environment for the viewers. I couldn't really cover the ceiling for this exhibition because there wasn't really a ceiling available for this room, but the room still gave a clearly, immersive experience when you go inside of the work, the space. Like I mentioned before, the prints are 34 by 34 inches, but the blocks are 36 by 36 inches because I needed about 1 inch of room around the print for the installation because the prints have to go on top of each other when I glue them in the place. And then I drew everything in Illustrator and used CNC louder to carve all the mechanical images. But the animal and crops were carved by hand. So if you look at the top right and the left one, the right one is the Illustrator design, and then the left one is actually the block image. So you can see in the original Illustrator design, there's no chicken, cows, and then crops. So all the organic images were carved by hand. I made this virtual city 1000 when I was a graduate student in SUNY at Buffalo. I had this idea for a while when I lived in Korea, but I completed it in the States. I spent almost my entire 20s in Korea, and I went to graduate school in 2015. Virtual City 1000 highlights the interdependent relationship between nodes of a network and the emergence of virtual elements through the use of corporeal pixels and the QR codes. I use 1,000 hand-printed paper cubes and stacked them up to portray a city landscape. Where I grew up has a lot of high-rise buildings. If you ever been to Korea or East Asia, like cities, you're gonna see a lot of this kind of like look of buildings. I lived in the apartment buildings almost my entire life until I moved to the state. And then when I saw the QR code for the first time years ago, probably 2007, I believe. It reminded me of a bird's eye view of the city I lived in. So I kind of connected the idea of the QR code and the city. So the QR code is a combination of pixels, which means without those individual pixels in a specific positions, the code doesn't really work. When you live in a big city, there are so many things going on, and I felt like I was so small in this society, society, and just existing for the city. Or and then you start questioning your own role in there. Like, oh, what am I doing? Who I am. That kind of question I always had it when I lived in the Seoul. But I realized that without all these people and myself, the city doesn't really function. So I wanted to highlight the importance of individual elements and talk about micro and macro perspectives. So adding another elements from the city environment, I wanted to portray virtual and physical spaces are used for this project very specifically. We are so dependent on the devices we carry all the time, like your phone or your tablets. Sometimes the boundaries between virtual and physical space is very blurry, especially these days, where even right now, we're like talking about this thing, like we're having this conversation virtually, not in physical space, So you exist in both spaces. So the cube looks like a city from the ground view, but it can be transformed into any arrangement of the QR codes. Viewers can scan the work from the bird's eye view, and then they will see themselves on the device once the code is read. So the whole installation is designed to a very specific architecture. So the work existed on the first ground, and then you should be able to go upstairs and then look down the work, so you can read the code. There is a camera constantly taking pictures on the ceiling, actually. So, whenever you are on the downstairs, and then you go upstairs and then take a picture, then you will see yourself when you were 1 minute or 2 minutes ago in the downstairs. So by the way, Seoul City has so many surveillance camera in public spaces. So this work as a reflection of that. So I had this idea when I was in Seoul, but I finished this work in the state. And then at that time when I was in the program, I remember one of my colleagues, actually from Robeck, he didn't have a smartphone. So he didn't really get this idea why QR code is related to the city, why you're bringing physical and the virtual space together. Because I guess for him, phone wasn't really his secondary sensation at that time. So anyway, so I have some good story about this work. What I really liked about this project is that every time I had a show in a different location, I could just send the code, and then the gallery can stack them on their own. As long as the code structure is maintained from above, I did not really mind how they are stacked, how they stack the cubes. So I get so many different landscapes. So even using the same code twice results in different configurations of the cubes. So this show was in New York City. I really like the way the center of the installation was stacked taller than the sides compared to others. And sometimes I get requests to install these two projects together. I think a lot of people see that the visual complexity from both of my works, and then they really want to kind of create that together. So All right, let's go back to the campaign I've been working on. So after the Atlanta spa shooting in March this year, I constantly heard so much news about the big increase in hate crimes against Asian in the US. It depressed me so much. And then at a certain point, I had to stop watching the news because I was really getting depressed and unproductive, I cried so many nights after watching news, and then I couldn't really work on anything really productively. So yeah, at the beginning, I started making the prints more for myself, and then to encourage myself to speak out how I felt on social media, so I posted the picture that I'm holding the print. And one of my friends actually saw my post and then asked me how I made this print. And then also she texted me like if she can buy the print for her daughter because she adopted Asian. She has adopted Asian daughter. So she wanted to buy the print for her. I immediately changed the direction of my prints to a larger scale campaign project after I got the message from my friend, So if there are people out there who want to buy these prints to show and spread support for their family and friends, I could help them express that support, and then reach more people. So that's kind of power of the printmaking. I can produce multiple, so more people can have the work, So I made a lot of prints and more people could contribute their support to more organizations helping many different AAPI communities in different locations. So there are two versions of the prints being made. One blind embossed prints. These are being traded in exchange for donations to organizations supporting AAPI communities. And then second, screen prints produced for free public distributions to raise awareness. Prints have been traded in exchange for over $2,200 in donations so far. I think it's a little bit more than that, but that's the record that I have so far. Going back to the Atlanta shooting tragedy, I kept finding increasing rates of crimes based on racism, especially a big change in the rates of crimes against Asian after this, the spa shooting happened. But the truth is, it has always been going on, It did not just happen suddenly, it's always there. And it started happening more and more in public view, but still there is a lack of awarenesses of these issues. So I wanted to screen print these signs and then distribute them to other places where there are big Asian communities like LA, New York City, Vancouver in Canada, Toronto in Canada, and then other places. So basically any organization or any place, contact me like, oh, can I get some of your screen print to distribute in our local community? I just mail them. So they didn't pay, they didn't have to pay any shipping or anything. I just covered all the cost. Yeah. So the engagements through multiple languages helped to invite other members of our local communities to pay attention to these issues, as well as address the idea that just because you're not Asian, that doesn't mean you cannot talk about these human rights issues. When it comes to racial justice issues, some people misinterpret being a direct victim as a requirement to speak out about hate crimes and racism. Your awareness and using your voice to speak out on these topics helps others feel safer in our neighborhoods. So you shouldn't really feel that way, like because I'm not Asian, I'm not supposed to talk about this. That's a really wrong interpretation. I'm doing better these days, definitely, but for a while, I was really afraid of going outside by myself without my husband. Sometimes even like, at like very late night, I text my husband, can you come and pick me up, because I'm afraid of going outside by myself. I was more afraid that there might be no one who would be willing to help me if I were threatened or attacked. Of course, I was afraid if somebody attacks me, what's gonna do, but more the fear was like, nobody will come to help me because they see me as outside of their, community. So, but just one sign that says, use your voice, or stop Asian hate, stop Asian hate, or stop AAPI hate sign. It just makes me a little bit feel safer, as an Asian, when I go to a new neighborhood, if I see a sign sharing public support for Asian or other minority communities, I definitely do feel a little bit safer. Even like, when I go to a place that I've never been to before, that place has a like Black Lives Matter sign, I definitely feel like a little bit safer, even though, I'm not a African American, because that sign tells me these people are understanding and then supporting the other group of people, So it may not be just me, who I feel like this. So I do want to spread more voices, messages, but also distribute these signs a lot of other places. So the embossed prints are produced with the blind embossing technique. The plates are all laser cut acrylic sheets, and I printed them on a printmaking paper without any ink. You can't really see exactly what's happening on these prints until you pay more attention and then try to move around to read the text better. Especially in this exhibition, I put glass in the frame, so there are a lot of like glare, like a reflection happening, so you definitely have to keep moving around to see the text on my prints. So that kind of motion and practice could be applied to looking at the issues of discrimination and then bias in our society. Getting a good view of the whole picture might require adjusting our perspective and moving around a little bit and away from our own bubbles, and then to see another angle. So that's why I wanted to produce these prints in the blind embossment. So as you saw, like the two other projects that I did, I do a lot of achromatic color scheme, like mainly just either black and white, or even there is others, it's usually like grays, So people like to ask about the colors in these screen prints. If you're familiar with my other work, it might surprise you to see me in front of so much colors. But the truth is that the color for each language does not have any specific relationship. When making a large number of screen prints for free distribution, and to collect donations, I had to consider my budget. Otherwise, I could not sustain this project. So I used a lot of leftover ink from my university where I teach, Yeah. So while the variety of color is accidental, the intention aspect of this ink is actually, it's the way it reflects the lights. So what I'm talking about here is like I mixed pearlescent ink, like it kind of like looks like a pearly effects. So I mixed those pearlescent ink into all the leftover ink. So using the pearlescent ink for the screen prints was done in a similar context to the blind embossment prints. And that is that the work invites viewer to change position, So as you move around the prints, you can experience how it feels a little bit different as your perspective changes. So because the ink is a kind of like slightly pearly, so you will see the light reflections kind of like constantly changing. So, and I hope that's something we can all practice in our aspect of our lives too, not only just in the gallery. So this workshop happened over the summer this year. I collaborated with a student organization called Justice for Asian Americans Coalition to hold a free public workshop. Participants could print their own signs as well as print and take home a t-shirt. So there are a lot of people came actually. We had to have like a 20 minutes time slot for 4 hours, I believe. And then a lot of people came with their children, or their friends. And then they all got at least 2 or 3 screen prints and then make one t-shirts with me. Yeah. This workshop actually happened just a week ago. Unfortunately, I couldn't participate because I was, I think it was the day after I came back from my trip to Lubbock. Yeah. Anyway, it was a collaboration of 2 organizations in Buffalo, New York, Western New York Book Art Center, where my current exhibition is, and Stitch Buffalo. They designed this workshop together. So anybody could walk in and then make their own felt patches that can be attached to their backpacks or hats or or their clothes or jacket, like etc. Anything. So this is the workshop pictures that I actually Professor Yu gave me last week. So I feel these kind of workshops are an effective way to frame this work because it invites member of the community and not just member of the art communities, but also the larger communities, to engage with the social topics and to produce a physical sign of support and then to guide them in just one kind of opportunity to use their voice. And then it might just be a one small print, or a sign or a t-shirt or pin or whatever, but the collection and interaction of a lot of small voices are chance of support and a discussion of meaning and then educational exchanges. So these individual prints and voices are absolutely significant, and not only in individual value, but also in the construction of a larger context, So thanks. So I really love doing more workshop in the in a different communities, and then it means a lot for me. I mentioned this last week when I was in the Texas Tech. Like I did it for other people, but also some way I did it for myself because the printing process was very therapeutic. So whenever I was printing them, at least I don't think about so much and then I don't get so depressed. So I'm more productive. So it always helps in both ways, so many different ways. Yeah. So, all right, I think that's it. So thanks for hearing my voice today. And I hope something that I mentioned today can help someone else feel more confident and comfortable using their voices too. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mizin, for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to wait for some questions to come in. Sangmi, do you have any questions for her before we get going?
Let me see. Oh, there were so many things, wonderful things covered. So I'm just curious about your approaches of allyship. You talked about whenever you go to a new place or neighborhood, you see either the Stop Asian hashtag, Stop Asian Hate hashtag sign or BLM signs. That really helps you feel safer. So what are the approaches and what you think the allyship is?
I think, like I said, that is a way to project, or share your voice or ideas or the support that you have it's in the public space, you know, because you don't really have to meet them in person, even though I don't know who or who it really lives in that house, but you know, all the Black Lives Matter signs and they are putting in their front yard. Just by looking at them, I'm just like I appreciate their support, you know, I really appreciate their voice that they want to share in public. So that comes to me very clearly. And then that just even makes me like, even though I never met them, I just like appreciate them. And I really already love this neighborhood. So I, like I say, you know, as soon as I see more that kind of signs, I feel more safer with, even though I've never been to this neighborhood. So I hope the signs that I'm making for this campaign works that way for other people who felt like me, you know, so.
That's great. And I kind of see the history of with pasting up posters. That's kind of heavily embedded in printmaking history throughout the history. And there's that kind of a connection to how you created the posters and signs. Can you extend where the Stop Asian Hate signage came from, how you designed, and where do you want that to be located?
Sure. So at the beginning, I made a sign just for the social media share. So, but when I designed it, I took a lot of the aesthetic part of the road signs. So if you look at my design carefully, you will notice all the sign actually has the bold cornered lines. That's definitely taken from the road signs. So, and then all the prints are like either 11 by 17 or 12 by 18, which are the regular poster size. So I didn't want to make my prints are very like unusual, you know, I want them like kind of see them more like comfortably, but also they find the aesthetic in other parts in their lives. So that wasn't intentional. But right now, what my actual goal is, because currently all these prints cannot really display outside, you know, either you keep them indoor or put your window, but I really want to work on a campaign or a grant or any opportunity that allow me to make these signs like possibly be displayed outside, you know, like for outdoor purpose. So I'm working on that. So I hope someday you can put these signs in your front yard, and then, you know, there are a lot of signs more visible in the public space. Yeah.
Sounds great. We'll foresee more public art in this place. Okay.
I will do my best. Yeah.
Do you want to introduce the question from the chat box, or do you want me to do it?
We can read it. I can read it.
Okay.
So we have one question from Dr. Chua. Could you explain how you came up with the embossed technique for the Stop Asian Hate work? Why that embossed design?
Oh, okay. I think so. Maybe it wasn't really delivered clearly when I was talking about the blind embossed prints during my talk. So I definitely wanted to not include color in this work, but mainly the blind embossing prints. It really has to work with the lighting, and but also your position. Even like when you look at the prints in person, you kind of have to hold it and then constantly move it around to see what's happening on the prints, you know, to read all the text very clearly. So that kind of motion and practice, I was hoping that kind of motion and practice could be applied to when you look at the other social issues, you know. So instead of just being steady and then just standing in the same position all the time, you try to move your perspective, but also try to get out of your comfort zone to look at things better and then clearly. So that's why I wanted to make the signs in the blind embossment. Yeah.
Great. Let me read Daniel's question in the chat box. Mizin, do you think you will create any different prints similar to the hashtag Stop Asian Hate ones, possibly with different hashtags?
So I thought about the hashtag part at first when my friends or other people, the volunteers translated the sign, they actually translated the Stop Asian Hate. But if you try to really search that translation on the social media, nothing comes up, you know. So I wanted to use the hashtags are actually the hashtags that are actually used in the social media, you know. So when someone search Stop Asian Hate on, you know, Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, I hope, you know, more related contents are kind of like shows up. So my main goal was using the hashtags that are actually people are using it, you know, like people are actually searching it to find more information about this content. Yeah, but I also wanted to make the other hashtag like a Stop AAPI Hate instead of just Asian hate, you know. So I definitely want to expand that more, but I don't think I will create my own hashtags. You know, I want to use the hashtag that are actually people are using it, you know.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want to read it out loud, Sangmi?
Oh, I can do that. Okay, this is from a graduate student justice project. In the future, do you have an interest in combining your work about interconnected systems with your current Stop Asian Hate campaign, or do you want those bodies of work to stay largely separate?
That's a good question. I guess it's depending on how the viewers see my work. I definitely see a lot of connection and then relationship between my other work and then this campaign. I guess because it is both from me, you know, like I have that very strong philosophical belief that everything is connected. So we should respect so many things. You know, I don't really particularly see things like this is a small, or this is a big, or this is better, or this is less important. You know, I don't really see our work that way. So it's been always helpful for me to understand but also respect so many things in our society. And then these, you know, prejudice based crimes and then the hate crimes are all kind of the core of the problem is we see us very like so differently, you know, like we see us like we see other group of people like not related to you, you know, like we're not really connected, or you know, we don't really have any strong relationship between you and me, so I hate you so much, like that, you know. So I don't really think I'm going to really combine these two body of work together, but currently the work I'm doing it is actually it's a depicting of the public transportation in our history. So I have one project that shows the air transportation from 1970s to 2010. So each decade shows how much we're traveling between the continents. And then you will see that a lot of the patterns, you know, like it's a lot of like global connection happens, you know, in our history. So I can see this work, and then the Stop Asian Hate campaign, especially it has 18 different languages, maybe there is some visual connection between two works, but the core of the contents are already connected, that I'm trying to project through my artwork, like I'm trying to say that idea, everything is connected. So we shouldn't really see things so separately, so does it?
Along with that question, I have a question, my own question, because we had a conversation about this while you were here in Lubbock. Because some of us printmakers, especially because of the medium's potential for wide dissemination of information, we often tackle on some social issues, social justice, and many of us are actually participating in social practices. Then you have this ongoing body of work that you think that's the main frame to identify yourself. Then when a situation happens, you become more participatory about it. Then there was some concern about that from your conversation, that you don't want to be labeled in particular manner, that you are only doing such campaigns, right? Can you talk a little bit about it or expand it?
Could you just repeat the last part one more? Sorry.
Like when someone that you don't know, or that person doesn't know your background, what kind of print practice you had in the past, then they only know you through the Stop Asian Hate campaign as that artist. And how do you cope with that, or what would be your perspective?
I see. That's a really good question, because this is actually the first time I'm doing the campaign project with my own artwork. I was in some other industries like design and filmmaking, but most of the time I really want to make my art that speaks its own voice to the viewers. But this campaign is specifically like kind of healing myself, but also healing other people. So I didn't really think about, I don't have to make the brand of myself, Mizin Shin, with this campaign. Like as an artist, sometimes I'm in that kind of dilemma, what if my new artwork doesn't look like my previous artworks, and then what if people don't really recognize this is my work? But I didn't think that way for this campaign, because it was a little bit, it started in a different approach, like I say, I share this print just for the social media to speak out. And then somebody wanted to buy print, and then I switched the path, So I didn't really worry about that this work doesn't become part of my other project. Even I still feel a little bit uncomfortable that I have a show with this campaign, before I did an exhibition at the Western New York Book Art Center, I had so many times like a kind of debating, do I want to ever have a show with this print, because this is more social justice practice than just a fine art, but a lot of my colleagues told me, no, you shouldn't feel guilty about, or you shouldn't think that you're taking advantage of this campaign, because more people see your work, then more people will respond to your work. So you shouldn't feel that way. So that changed my mind. And then I ended up having the exhibition. And then I ended up having a lot of workshop, happened in that exhibition. So there were definitely like a synergy effect with the exhibition. But there was definitely a point that I felt uncomfortable having an exhibition with the campaign, because as an artist, we all know having an exhibition is a very privileged thing to do. Not everybody gets that opportunity. So I always feel very grateful, and then I always appreciate all that opportunities. So I had that kind of a moment, the kind of dilemma moment that, do I really see this campaign as my other art projects that I particularly designed to share in the public, So I hope that.
Yeah, that answered, it clarified my understanding how you view this practice as a collective experience to be shared with a larger public. So not related to the particular individual, you as an artist.
Mhm.
So
Right.
there's another comment coming from the chat box, Boriana. So Joe, do you wanna?
Yeah, Boriana, one of our faculty in painting, has the question. She enjoyed your talk and asks the question. She is curious to know if you have exhibited this work in Korea, or how this work has been received outside of the United States, and the kinds of conversations it provokes in other cultural contexts.
Mhm. I really hope I can show this work in other countries, not just on the US, in the States, because first, I felt so great. I really appreciated the opportunity that I could share this campaign in Texas, because as I understand, there are not a lot of Asian communities in Robeck, and then also there's not a huge population of Asian there. So I wanted to share this campaign in that kind of region where it actually doesn't have a lot of Asian population, because but also since I'm including a lot of different languages, and I know it's not only happening in the state, it happened in the Europe. I saw a couple of newses happen, based on this hate crimes news in Europe as well. So in the future, if I can share this work and then campaign in other country, that would be great. At the moment, I'm not sure what approach I should do. So if anyone has a good, suggestion or advice, please share. I would love to get some, ideas so that I can, expand this. Yeah.
Well, I believe that wraps us up.
Great.
Thank you for your time. Thank you, everybody who attended. And we'll see you at the next one. You'll have a good day and a good week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mizin.
Bye.